So Matthew Stafford's time with the Rams could soon be coming to an end, and in today's video, we've got to look at the 4 teams that have already expressed interest in trading for the veteran, but not before I talk about several players getting released from their current teams. So let's talk about all that and more right after. First up, several teams recently made some moves releasing veteran players in order to free up some cap space. The Panthers released cornerback Dane Jackson, who they signed to a 2-year deal just last March. He missed the first 6 games of the season due to a hamstring injury, though, then struggled big time when he returned, giving up a 123.6 passer rating and a 75.7 completion percentage when targeted. They'll free up $3.35 million by cutting ties with him, so given his struggles last season, it definitely makes sense. He's not the only player they're moving on from, though, as they're choosing not to re-sign veteran linebacker Shaq Thompson, whose contract expired at the end of the season. He's been a Panther for his entire 10-year career and was often one of the only bright spots on a struggling Carolina team. He had over 100 tackles 4 years in a row from 2019 to 2022, but he sadly suffered back-to-back season-ending injuries. In 2023, he broke his ankle, and in 2024, he tore his Achilles. And then the Browns released former Chief and 2-time Super Bowl champion safety Juan Thornhill. He was heading into the final year of his 3-year, $21 million deal that he signed back in 2023, but unfortunately, injuries kept him off the field 12 games over the last 2 seasons, so Cleveland is saying adios and saving $3.4 million by doing so. Then, the Bears said peace to a couple of players today themselves, releasing defensive end DeMarcus Walker as well as tight end Gerald Everett. Walker is coming off a solid year with 3.5 sacks, 16 quarterback hits, and 7 tackles for loss, but he will be 31 in September, and by releasing him, they save nearly $6 million going into next year. They're actually saving another $5.5 million by releasing tight end Gerald Everett, a guy they signed to a 2-year, $12 million deal last offseason. He played all 17 games, but the Bears hardly used him at all, and he finished with career lows by far in every receiving statistic. He too is going to be 31 next season, so saving over $10 million by shedding 2 30-plus-year-old players. That's a solid move for a team that already has the 4th most cap space heading into 2025. Next up, we've got a little bit of an update regarding the whole Matthew Stafford, Ram, should he stay, should he get traded situation. That's worth talking about. A little over a week ago now, Jeremy Fowler reported that the Rams have a, quote, strong interest in bringing Stafford back, but his deal is untenable under current terms. Well, those current terms have him staring at a $49.7 million cap hit in 2025, the 5th highest among all quarterbacks, which isn't really insane considering some would put Matt Stafford right around that 5th best quarterback still in the NFL at the age of 37. That's a big cap hit, though, for the Rams, who are projected to have a little over $39 million in cap space next season, so it's understandable as to why they'd like to lower that number and free some more space up. Well, it's also understandable why Matt Stafford might be opposed to that. After all, he just reworked his deal last offseason and may not want to go through that whole ordeal again. Plus, Peter Schrager from NFL Network reported that Stafford wants over $50 million per year, and if that's true, then another restructure may not be an option. His wife, Kelly, has a podcast. A lot of you may know that. She's kind of made her rounds through social media by saying some kind of wild stuff at times. So she has a podcast and addressed some of the contract situation and trade rumor stuff swirling around back in early February. She basically said they want to be somewhere they feel valued, and while both want to be in LA, they wouldn't have a problem going elsewhere. Well, that brings us to a bit of an update that came over the weekend. First, on Saturday, it was reported that the Rams are allowing Matt Stafford's agent to talk to other teams to gauge his value via a potential trade. Now, that doesn't mean a trade is guaranteed. The Rams reportedly still want Stafford back, but at this point, if both sides can't agree to terms on whether it's a new deal or a restructure that just makes sense for both sides, then it may be time to say farewell. The Rams are clearly heading into a bit of a competitive rebuild or retooling, if you will. They informed Cooper Kupp, for example, a few weeks ago they intend on trading him, and now here we are with the Matt Stafford situation. They're definitely looking ahead a few years, as good front offices do, and having your 2 biggest cap hits be a 37-year-old quarterback and a 32-year-old wideout receiver isn't the most appealing scenario, regardless of the success that they've had in the past. They have way too much talent on both sides of the ball to enter a full rebuild, and I think if they replaced Stafford with a quality starter, They could still be a playoff team. I mean, finding a quality starter is easier said than done, though, so we'll see what they end up deciding to do. There's not a ton of guys. You got Sam Darnold, you got Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, I guess even the 40-plus-year-old Aaron Rodgers, but none of them are better than Stafford, let's be honest. So they have a tough decision ahead of them. But let's just say they do end up trading Stafford. I don't think LA is getting anywhere near the same haul they gave up to get him back in 2021. It's not going to happen, but I have seen anywhere from a first-round pick to multiple seconds or thirds being the projected return the Rams could potentially get, which wouldn't be bad at all. But who would they be trading with? Well, I'm glad you asked, because the next big update to this situation came earlier today when Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated revealed that 4 teams have reached out to LA about Stafford and have shown interest in trading for him. And those 4 teams are the Pittsburgh Steelers, Cleveland Browns, New York Giants, and the Las Vegas Raiders. The Steelers are the most ready-to-win-now team of these 4, and I imagine that would be something intriguing to Stafford. He'd have a solid defense, some weapons in George Pickens, Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, and Pat Freiermuth, and one of the best coaches in the game in Mike Tomlin. They're projected to have over $55 million in cap space next season as well, so they could definitely stomach his cap hit. Unlike the Cleveland Browns, who are literally in the hole by about $28 million. So yeah, I have no idea how they think they can afford him anytime soon with the rest of Deshaun Watson's contract on the books. You either need to draft somebody if you're Cleveland or go get somebody like Kirk Cousins, who is probably going to be getting league minimum. The Giants are intriguing. They obviously have a big need at quarterback. My question is, are they really ready enough to compete now in order to justify trading for a 37-year-old Stafford? They have some nice pieces on offense. Malik Neighbors for sure. He's going to be one of the best receivers in the game for years to come. There's also Wan'Dale Robinson and their rookie running back. I like him a lot. Tyrone Tracy, who emerged as their running back 1. But their defense was not great, ranking 20th in points allowed and 23rd in yards allowed. So yeah, while I think Stafford is still clearly top 5, top 10 quarterback in the NFL, somewhere around that range, I'm not sure the rest of the roster is ready to carry their weight. However, GM Joe Schoen and head coach Brian Daboll are on their last lives in New York after that disastrous season they just came off of, so this could potentially be a desperate job-saving move. And of the 4 teams mentioned by Albert Breer, they do possess the most valuable asset, which is the 3rd overall pick. Surely they wouldn't fork that over, though, right? Adam Schefter seems to agree with that, saying there's no way in hell they would trade it. They also have the 34th and 65th picks in the draft to work with, so maybe one of those and a future pick of some kind gets it done. I mean, if I'm the Giants, why not go for Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders in the draft with that 3rd overall pick that is a cost-controlled rookie for the next 5 years and should, in theory, set your future up for a bit more success than Matt Stafford, who is 37 years old. Now, the final team is the Las Vegas Raiders. They too are coming off of a rather underwhelming season, or 20 seasons, really, but things seem to be turning around, at least from a culture perspective. Head coach Antonio Pierce and GM Tom Telesco are out, and Pete Carroll and John Spytek are in, as is Tom Brady as a minority owner, though he has a major voice in some of their decision-making. It's clear they're trying to turn the organization back into a winning franchise, and in order to do that, they've brought in people who have won at least 1 Super Bowl in their day. All they're missing now from a leadership standpoint is a quarterback. They had Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell last year, not going to get it done. Now, don't get me wrong, they have plenty of other holes to fill on the roster, but a Super Bowl winning quarterback would likely go a long way in furthering their attempt at building a culture. They're not too far behind New York in the draft. They have the 6th overall pick. If they aren't confident they could get one of the 2 main quarterbacks in the first round of the draft that I just mentioned a bit ago, Stafford could certainly be a possibility. Outside of the 6th overall pick, they do have 2/3 and 3 6th-round picks, so they have a bit of ammo if they want to take a run at him. The money definitely isn't an issue either, as they actually have the 2nd most cap space in the league heading into the year with a little over $95 million. But if you have that much money, I feel like I've been saying this about some of the other teams too, but why not try to get a free agent? You don't have to give up any draft capital at all and go get somebody like Sam Darnold. Stafford isn't going to be a long-term solution regardless, though he certainly is a better quarterback than somebody like Darnold, even though he is coming off of a career year. It certainly is an interesting situation to follow and would be crazy if Matt Stafford ended up getting traded yet again. But what do you guys think is going to happen here? Will he work things out with LA and return there for at least another year? Or do you think he gets moved to one of the 4 teams I just mentioned? Let me know your thoughts either way in the comments down below. And with that, I'll see y'all next time.